There's no way to sugarcoat it. Just 100 days into his return to the presidency, Donald J. Trump is facing the most dramatic polling collapse of his political career. According to brand new data released by CNN, the numbers are in, and they're worse than anyone expected. Trump's approval rating has dropped to 41%, a full 7-point fall in just 2 months. That's not just low. It's historic. The lowest 100-day rating of any U.S. president in modern polling history, going back to 1953. Veteran CNN analyst Harry Enten put it bluntly. These numbers are just horrible, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Compared to the same moment in office, Biden was at 53%. Obama? 63%. George W. Bush? 62%. Trump, in 2025, is at the bottom of the chart. So what's happening? And why now? In this special report, we examine the data, the decisions behind the numbers, and the growing concern from within Trump's own party. From controversial tariffs to economic fatigue, tonight, we ask a bigger question. Is Trump's political grip finally starting to slip? The numbers don't lie. And this time, they're setting off alarm bells. According to CNN's latest poll, Donald Trump's approval rating stands at just 41%, a sharp decline of 7 points since February. That single-digit drop may seem small. But in presidential polling, especially this early in a term, it's a political earthquake. 41%, it's not just Trump's lowest rating since his re-election. It's the lowest 100-day approval rating for any U.S. president in the modern era of polling, going back more than 70 years. Even during the chaotic early months of his first term in 2017, Trump never dropped below 44% this early. Now, in 2025, he's shattered his own record. For perspective, Joe Biden, at the same point in 2021, held a 53% approval rating. Barack Obama, in 2009, was riding high at 63%. Even George W. Bush, facing the early days of a divided Congress, maintained a solid 62%. Trump isn't just below them, he's off the scale. Veteran poll analyst Harry Enten, who has tracked presidential polling for over a decade, called this drop horrific and unprecedented. His words: "There's no way to sugarcoat it. Trump is now performing worse than every modern president at this point in office. Period." The data isn't just about approval. It's about momentum, and the loss of it. For months, Trump's second term started with strength. He had energy, rallies, and the Supreme Court in his corner. But the latest numbers show a slow and steady erosion in trust. Among independent voters, Trump's support has cratered, from 47% to just 36%. Among suburban voters, a key group in the 2020 and 2022 elections, Trump has slipped by nearly 10 points since January. And perhaps most telling of all, in battleground states like Wisconsin, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, his approval has dipped below 40% for the first time since 2018. The message from the data is clear. Trump's base may still be loyal, but his reach is shrinking. Coming up, we look at the key issues driving this collapse, from economic backlash, to controversial tariffs, to growing tension within his own party. But first, we ask, is this just a temporary slump? Or is it the start of a long, slow unraveling? A drop in approval ratings doesn't happen by accident. Behind the numbers is a story. A story made of policy decisions, economic realities, and the changing sentiment of American voters. And in Donald Trump's case, the story begins with tariffs. In March 2025, Trump signed an executive order reinstating broad tariffs on imports from China, the European Union, and even close partners like Canada and Mexico. The stated goal: bring jobs back. Punish trade cheaters. The actual result? Consumer prices surged within weeks. Appliances, groceries, gasoline, all saw noticeable price hikes, particularly in swing state suburbs where inflation was already top of mind. For working families, it was déjà vu from 2018, but worse. Small business owners reported shipping costs rising 12%. One Midwestern manufacturing CEO said bluntly, "We're paying more, selling less, and getting squeezed from both ends." According to the Washington Post ABC Ipsos poll, 48% of Americans say they are financially worse off under Trump's second term. Only 19% say they feel economically better served. That's more than just a number, that's the erosion of one of Trump's strongest campaign promises, economic prosperity. But the economic pain isn't the whole picture. Another key factor in this slide: messaging failure. Trump's return to the Oval Office was supposed to be more disciplined, refined, presidential. At least that was the promise his aides made in January. But so far, the narrative has been anything but focused. In the span of 2 weeks, Trump has floated a national sales tax, blamed NATO allies for the border crisis, suggested pulling the U.S. out of the World Trade Organization, and called the Federal Reserve an enemy of the people. The result? Headlines that shift by the hour. Confused allies. Markets rattled by contradicting signals. Even longtime supporters are asking, where is the message? Where is the plan? There's another factor you won't see in the charts, but it's just as important. Voter fatigue. After nearly a decade of Trump dominating headlines, with scandals, rallies, impeachments, and court battles, some voters are simply exhausted. Focus groups in Wisconsin, Arizona, and Pennsylvania describe it as burnout. One independent voter in Scranton put it plainly: "It's just too much drama. We want results, not noise." And the data backs this up. Approval among independent voters is down to 36%, a crucial loss in purple states. Trump is also slipping with younger voters, particularly millennials and Gen Z, who cite toxicity and polarization as top reasons for disengagement. More alarming for the Trump team. His numbers are softening in his base, not collapsing, but softening. Among white, non-college educated men, once his strongest demographic, support has dropped 6 points in 60 days. That's rare. And it's a warning. Add to this the legal cloud that continues to hover over his presidency. Ongoing investigations into classified documents, business fraud, and misuse of federal funds have dominated news cycles. Even if no conviction occurs, the optics alone are damaging. According to a recent Ipsos/Reuters survey, 59% of Americans believe Trump is not focused enough on governing. 61% say he brings unnecessary controversy to office. In short, the baggage is building, and it's starting to show in the polling. Perhaps the most surprising reason for the approval dip: lack of vision. For all the energy Trump brought into 2025, there is no clear legislative agenda for 2026. No signature infrastructure bill. No unifying domestic policy. No rallying issue beyond immigration and grievance. And voters are noticing. In exit interviews conducted after the Virginia and Ohio special elections, moderate GOP voters said they felt uninspired and confused about what the Trump White House was actually aiming to do. A party that once marched in lockstep behind him is now starting to drift. Even Fox News ran a segment titled, "Where's the second-term vision?" When your base starts asking questions, you've got a problem. From economic frustration, to chaotic messaging, to sheer political exhaustion, Trump's approval dip is the result of multiple overlapping fractures. This isn't a single-issue backlash. It's a cumulative erosion of confidence, happening quietly, voter by voter, state by state. Coming up, we look inside the Republican Party itself. Are cracks beginning to show within Trump's own inner circle? And what are top GOP strategists saying behind closed doors? Inside the Republican Party, the numbers haven't gone unnoticed. While Trump maintains a vocal and loyal base, the drop in national approval has triggered a new round of anxiety, especially among operatives focused on 2026. Publicly, most Republican leaders remain silent, or cautiously supportive. But behind closed doors, there's growing unease. In recent weeks, several prominent GOP senators and strategists have started to change their tone. Less talk of domination. More talk of discipline. Less about rally crowds. More about polling math. According to insiders close to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the mood has shifted from confident to concerned. One strategist, speaking anonymously, said, "If these numbers hold, we'll lose independents in Georgia, Arizona, and even Florida. We need Trump to stabilize, or step back." That kind of language was unthinkable 6 months ago. Donors are noticing, too. GOP-aligned super PACs have quietly paused funding for Trump-aligned down-ballot candidates, awaiting signs of rebound. In private donor meetings in Dallas and Palm Beach, several large contributors reportedly asked blunt questions. Is Trump still the winning bet? Fundraising numbers from Q1 show a 13% drop in small-dollar donations from Trump's base compared to the same period in 2020. Among corporate donors, the hesitation is even sharper, especially among those affected by the recent tariffs. The message? Loyalty has limits. Especially when business is on the line. Even within the MAGA base, once considered unshakable, tensions are emerging. Some high-profile Trump-aligned figures, like governors and House members, have started distancing themselves, subtly or directly. In a recent radio interview, one Midwestern GOP governor said, "Look, I support the president, but we need more than energy. We need stability." That one word, stability, has been echoed increasingly in internal memos and think tank briefings. It reflects a growing fear that Trump's unpredictability may no longer be an asset, but a liability in high-stakes 2026 Senate and House races. Behind the scenes, what's emerging is a whisper campaign, not of rebellion, but of reassessment. No open revolt. No sharp condemnation. But a quiet, strategic recalibration. Some within the party are already discussing contingency messaging, should Trump's numbers continue to fall. Messaging that pivots to party values, fiscal discipline, and local leadership, effectively creating a buffer zone between Republican candidates and Trump's increasingly shaky national approval. One strategist compared it to 2018, when moderate Republicans tried to ride with Trump without riding too close. But this time, it's happening much earlier, and much more carefully. And time may not be on Trump's side. According to polling experts inside the RNC, if approval ratings don't show a measurable rebound by late summer, there could be pressure to rethink campaign strategy heading into 2026. That means fewer nationalized races, more state-specific platforms, and possibly, more space between Trump and frontline candidates. It's not about abandonment. It's about damage control. And the fact that Republicans are even considering that, this early, says everything about the scale of the problem. Donald Trump may still control the spotlight. But behind the curtain, the GOP is starting to squint, asking questions it hasn't asked in years. Not out loud. Not on camera. But in meetings. In memos. In margins. Coming up next, how does Trump's current approval compare to past presidents in moments of political stress? And is history repeating itself, or writing something new entirely? History doesn't repeat itself exactly. But it does leave clues. To understand just how unusual Donald Trump's current polling situation is, we have to step back, and look across presidencies. Because while all presidents face political headwinds, not all of them start their term in free fall. Since 1953, modern polling has tracked the first 100 days as a key milestone. A temperature check. A honeymoon. A moment of early momentum, or early warning. Most presidents enter office on a wave of optimism. Their party controls Congress. Their ideas are fresh. And voters are willing to wait. But Trump's second term, breaks that tradition. At this point in their presidencies, Barack Obama, 2009 63% approval. George W. Bush, 2001 62%. Joe Biden, 2021 53%. Bill Clinton, 1993 55%. Ronald Reagan, 1981 60%. Donald Trump, 2025 41%. That's not just lower. That's historically isolated. Only Gerald Ford, following Nixon's resignation, came close, yet even he held a higher rating after his controversial pardon. Most presidents benefit from what historians call the honeymoon period. A stretch of goodwill that buys time for mistakes, bold moves, or even missteps. Trump has no honeymoon. No grace period. And, critics say, no clear plan to regain trust. In his first term, Trump defied convention. He broke molds and thrived in chaos. But in this second term, chaos is catching up. Political fatigue. Economic stress. Polarization fatigue. The American public is no longer shocked by Trump, they're simply tired. To be fair, Trump isn't the only president to face an early dip. Bill Clinton struggled with legislative missteps in 1993. George H. W. Bush saw approval erode after the Gulf War. Even Ronald Reagan faced setbacks following economic turbulence. But each of them responded with course corrections, either in policy or tone. They leaned into domestic priorities. They worked with their party. And most importantly, they communicated clearly. That's the key difference. One of the closest modern parallels may actually be Barack Obama in 2011. Facing debt ceiling chaos, Tea Party backlash, and economic anxiety. But Obama pivoted. He launched the American Jobs Act. He reset his communication strategy. And by 2012, he won re-election. Will Trump pivot? Or is he locked into a strategy of confrontation? For now, the numbers suggest this isn't just a dip. It's a structural challenge. In the story of the modern presidency, low polls in the first 100 days are rare. But not fatal. What matters is what comes next. Do leaders acknowledge reality? Or deny the data? Do they course correct? Or double down? Trump's historical counterparts found ways to reconnect with voters. The question now is whether he even sees the need to try. For all the data and political debate, approval ratings begin, and end, with people. In diners and factories, in suburbs and swing states. Opinions about Donald Trump's presidency are being formed every day. And today, those opinions are more complex than ever. Voter 1. I voted for him. Twice. I liked the fight. But now? Feels like all we're doing is fighting. Prices are up, people are on edge. I don't know if he's really helping us anymore. Voter 2. He said he'd help business owners like me. But the tariffs made everything I import more expensive. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm just tired of chaos. Voter 3. It's not about left or right. It's about tone. The whole vibe of the country feels angry. Trump fuels that. I want less drama, not more. Voter 4. I still support him. 100%. The media twists everything. He's not perfect, but at least he fights. I'm not switching sides. Voter 5. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I just want a president who leads without dividing. Trump had a chance to reset. I'm not sure he took it. From red states to blue states, one thing is clear. The country isn't just divided between parties. It's divided within them. Between loyalty and fatigue. Between faith and frustration. Between the memory of strength, and the reality of instability. And as Trump's approval continues to dip, the conversation isn't just about what he's done. It's about how people feel while he's doing it. In polling booths and living rooms, voters aren't quoting data. They're reacting to tone, to cost, to chaos. And that reaction, multiplied across 50 states, may be the most powerful number of all. Next, we conclude our special report with a look forward. Will Trump recover from this slide? Or are we witnessing the start of a slow political unraveling? For Donald J. Trump, the first 100 days of his second term were meant to be a moment of vindication. A return. A rebound. A restoration of control after years of division, controversy, and defeat. But what these past weeks have shown is something very different. Not a resurgence, but a reckoning. The approval numbers don't lie. The economic pressure is real. The political tone, still polarizing. And the voters, across party lines, are no longer responding with applause, but with questions. Questions like, where is this all going? Is he building, or just battling? Do we feel more confident, or more cornered? History has taught us that popularity can fade. But leadership, real leadership, requires recalibration. Reagan did it. Clinton did it. Even Obama, in his toughest moments, adapted and survived. The difference? They saw the warning signs. And they changed course. Donald Trump is now staring at those same signs. Will he course correct? Or continue down a path defined not by building coalitions, but by breaking norms? What we're witnessing may not be the collapse of a presidency. But it may be the moment when a second term loses its political momentum, and possibly its mandate. For Trump, for the Republican Party, and for the country, this is a historic crossroads. And the road ahead is no longer paved with certainty, but with consequences. In a democracy, approval is earned, every day. And trust, once shaken, is hard to restore. The numbers may rise again. Or they may not. But one thing is clear. America is not just watching the polls. It's watching the president. And waiting.